Wrong, wrong, wrong. We've got to quit thinking about that. And we've got to stop thinking that we can tell our kids that it's okay as well.
Welcome to Debt Proof Living with Mary Hunt. Today's episode is brought to you by Mvelopes. That's M like Mary, Velopes. Mvelopes uses the tried and true envelope budget system, all in one easy app. Give every dollar a purpose. Mvelopes.com. And now here's Mary.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited that you're with me for this episode of Debt Proof Living. We are in an ongoing series based on, well, my book. It's called The 7 Money Rules for Life. I hope that if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, that you will take time to do that, especially the first one. And, well, the second one. Oh, let's see, the third, the fourth. You need them all because this is we're building on this. We're talking about money rules, the basics that every one of us need to know to be able to manage our money in a way that is positive and not ruining our lives. Boy, do I know something about that. When you go back and you listen to previous episodes, you're going to hear my story. You're going to find out how this all came to be. I never went to finance school. I did not grow up on Wall Street. Oh my goodness. I have come this way because of my experiences, my life experience, what happened to me, and what caused me to become nearly obsessed with learning how to manage money. So, we're going to get right on today with rule number 5. We're on 5. We only have 7 total. Here it is. This is a fun one. Here's the rule. Tell your money where to go. All right, let's say it again. Tell your money where to go. And then I'm going to add this part to it. And you will never wonder where it went. Okay? Isn't that cute? All right, let's say it again. Tell your money where to go, and you'll never wonder where it went. Is there a word coming to your mind that's coming into my mind? It's that B word. Ugh, I hated that word. The budget word. Budget. Oh my goodness. My first recollection of this word, of course, I suppose I always knew what it meant, but we're in my worst years when I was, oh my gosh, so deeply in debt, hiding money from my, not hiding money, hiding my spending from my husband, hiding credit cards, getting so deep into the muck of debt. There was this person that I used to listen to once in a while on the radio because I thought, oh, I've got to listen to this. And I say this in the best way ever. Wonderful Larry Burkett. I never met him in my life, but I can tell you that he was a catalyst that God used to turn my life around. And the one thing I remember him saying, you ready? You need to get on a budget. It was, I didn't take that as a loving remark, like I'm here to rescue you. Get on a budget. And I hated it. I hated the word. So if you're reacting that same way, like it's nails on a chalkboard, I understand. And I'll try not to use it, okay? I like this word better. Spending plan. Doesn't it sound so much better? Oh, well, yes, it does. But God bless Larry Burkett. I thank God every day that I had those experiences because they were what really turned me around. I don't know, maybe you listening to me right now will be your turning point, your turnaround, your light bulbs come on and you realize that I need to learn how to tell my money where to go. If you have children, if you've ever been a child, which probably now I think includes everybody, you may be able to understand this a little bit because I think as parents, it's part of our responsibility to teach our children, to train them, to tell them where to go. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's a responsibility that parents have. And so I want us to think about that in terms of money. Then I want to tell you about my grandparents. My grandparents, long gone to heaven now, But I remember that as a little girl, I knew some things about them. One was that they didn't spend money they didn't have. Another was that they wouldn't dare buy a car until they saved up all the money to buy it. They wouldn't think of having a mortgage. Why would anybody be stupid enough to do that? You have to own your home. And now I understand why. Because they had no escape route. They had no safety net. If they spent all the money that they earned during harvest in order to spend it on their kids or throw big weddings for their children or take them to Disney World or whatever because they were flush with money, they would never do such a stupid thing, because what about the winters coming? How would they live? How would they pay for food? Because guess what? Back in those days, they didn't have something called credit cards. And that is what has done in so many people, and in a way told us we don't have to budget. We don't have to plan our spending. We spend all we have now because there'll always be more tomorrow. And if we lose our jobs, well, guess what? That's why we have credit cards, right? Wrong. We've got to quit thinking about that. And we've got to stop thinking that we can tell our kids that it's okay as well, even though society and culture's making it sure that they think they need credit cards in case of emergencies, that they must have credit cards for this, that, or the other thing. So that's kind of what I blame for why we have such a hard time with budgeting. I've been there. I know what it's like. I hate to write it down. I don't want anyone to tell me what to spend. I don't want those kinds of limits. I want freedom. I want freedom to spend what I want when I want to spend it. I don't want to have to think about the price tag. Guess what, people? That is not freedom. That is bondage. It's like, what do they say? A sheep in wolf's clothing, or a wolf in sheep's clothing. However we put it, it's a lie, because it feels right, but it's certainly not. And I'm the prime example to tell you why that doesn't work out. So we're going to talk about rule number 5 here in ways that might surprise you. I don't have a one-size-fits-all for people for how to manage their money, for how to tell their money where to go. I know what works for me. I know what works for my husband, which is completely different than what works for me. I know that we are all different, and this is probably one of the most sensitive issues in our entire lives. And if you are married, if you have a spouse, you might say, yeah, that's true. We're completely different in the way that we manage money. So I'm going to give you a few tips. I'm going to point you in the right direction. But more than that, I want to teach you this: how to think about your money and how to take charge. If you're not living in a way where you're planning your spending and you're telling your money where to go, you're actually more like a child who's not in charge of anything than a boss or an entrepreneur or a parent who actually has authority and can make the right decisions. So that should come to you as good news. I think one of the best things I ever discovered about telling your money where to go was to think of it this way. Our income, the money that we make, let's talk about maybe your paycheck, the disability check you get every month, whatever it is. Every one of us have money that flows through our lives. It's how God takes care of us. It's what comes into our lives. It's how we know that we will be able to eat. We'll have a place to live. It's called managing money. If you think of every one of those dollars, so close your eyes. You're going to have to think about this. You have to visualize this. Think of every one of those dollars as a worker, an employee, a staff member, someone over whom you have authority, and you are responsible to tell them what to do in order to achieve a goal, to get a job done. All right, you got it? I know some of you are bosses. You own businesses. I know that some of you, my wonderful listeners, are retired. Some of you have regular kinds of jobs where you work for an employer, you get a paycheck. Some of you are teachers. You get paid 9 months of the year, and 3 months you wonder what's going to happen. We have all different kinds of ways. Some of you are trust fund babies. You have a life where you just get an income every month off of a trust fund, which is fantastic. But here's the deal. We all have a responsibility to manage that money. If you can start seeing every one of your dollars as a worker, okay? I don't want you to mix this up with the limits on your credit cards. That is not your money.
Let's take a quick break for just a minute. Hi, I'm Julie, producer of Debt Proof Living with Mary Hunt. You know, many of us have the experience in our lives of living paycheck to paycheck. And many people, I know it well, have a difficult time following a budget. But not managing our money is a leading cause of stress in our lives. That's why Mvelopes created a simple, affordable envelope budgeting program that just works. Mvelopes helps you take control of your future by giving every dollar a purpose. Every dollar, a purpose. People who use Mvelopes see monthly savings of 10% of their spending within 6 weeks of getting started, and they report less anxiety. Now, currently, Mvelopes is extending their free trial to 60 days for all of their subscriptions, so there's never been a better time to start on a new path. Just click the link in the show notes and sign up today risk-free. Okay, now let's get back to our conversation.
The money that you have coming in, your income, is not the same as the credit limits on your credit cards, okay? Sometimes we get that mixed up. We think, well, I'm making $60,000 on my job, but I also have a total of $70,000 of available credit. So therefore, I have $130,000 to spend every year. Well, that is super wrong thinking. So we've got to start thinking differently. So every dollar needs a job to do, okay? You are the boss. You're going to assign those jobs. And if those dollars don't do the job they're supposed to do, guess who's got a problem on their hands? Not them, it's you. So what you're going to do in your thinking here, let's start with your rent or your mortgage payment. For most of us, that's the big number every month that we know is coming. We know we have to pay. The consequences of not paying are very, very dire. So let's just pick a number. I'm going to pick $1,200. Okay, that might be high for rent where you live. It might be low. I don't know. It might be a really low mortgage payment. We're just going to call it $1,200 a month that you have to pay. Well, guess what? 1,200 of your workers, as you receive them, as they come into your life, must be assigned to pay the mortgage. Okay, it's really best to write that down somewhere. I don't know. You can get an app, you can get a notebook, you can get something, a chalkboard, a whiteboard. I don't know what works for you. What I know is that 1,200 of your employees need to be assigned the job to pay your mortgage this month. You go, okay, that's easy. I get paid every week. Oh, that's a problem. You probably don't make enough in a week that you can take 1,200 out of 1 week. I know you're way ahead of me now. See, now that we get this thing clear of how this works, you're going to have to see that I've either got to set aside a certain amount out of every weekly paycheck to equal $1,200, and I've got to have that set aside so that I can pay it on the 15th or the 10th or whenever it is. I can't wait till the end of the month. Aha. Let's talk about some expenses you have that aren't the same every month. Let's talk about food. Do you have any idea how much you and your family spend on food every month? Most of us don't know because we don't want to know.
It's just too much.
What do you think, Julie? How much do you think? How about let's take fast food. Let's get it out of your immediate picture. Let's talk about, you have college-age kids, right?
Yes, I do.
What would you think that a college-age kid living away from home, dormitory, whatever, would spend in, say, 1 week on Starbucks, McDonald's, pizza, fast food, fries, all that? Just guess.
I'm going to guess $40 to $50, depending on how much Starbucks you have. Only My guess is at least 2 meals out, at least, plus extra Starbucks. But I have a boy who likes to get triple and quadruple patty burgers.
Oh, well, all right, let's just take $50. All right, let's take $50. This is for one person per week. And when we call it that, all right, guess what? If we're managing our money, telling our money where to go, we need to tell 50 of our dollars, our workers, that they have been assigned to fast food. I know what's happening right now. You're going, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do that. Oh my goodness. I love when the light bulbs come on, because that is exactly what you need to see as budgeting. Now, if Julie's son were to look that in the face and say, I'm going to make sure I've got $50 set aside, 50 workers set aside, and telling them that's what they're going to do this week, maybe I could find a way to make it 30. Maybe I could just actually go to the cafeteria where I have a meal card that's all been prepaid in my whole student adventure. Doesn't that make a big difference when we start seeing it in that way? But I would also say that what's going to happen, and Julie, I think we were chatting about this before we started to record. Something happens in our mind when we start seeing all the money I have to spend is what I earn, what I bring home. Now, if you have 2 breadwinners in the home, of course, you double that or whatever it is. But we have no right to spend money we have not earned. So we've got to make sure that we're finding a way to do that so our lifestyle doesn't exceed what we have coming in. But the very first thing that I bet you your son would do, if he knew for sure that all he had to spend for food for a week is $50, he'd start keeping track of how he spends it, okay? Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. He would be so smart to go to the ATM machine, get out $50 in cash, put those $50 in his wallet. Maybe not.
Maybe.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I could give him a better idea. It's so old-fashioned. He'd laugh at me. An envelope. Put the $50 in there. Right on the outside, junk food. Give it its name of what it is. And now he spends from the envelope. He knows when it's all gone. It's a wonderful way to keep track. But
yeah, you
I
could
would
call
also
it Burger Fund or something.
Yeah,
that's
Burger
a fun
Fund. There
way
you
to
go.
say.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what would happen is he'd start writing down what he spent. Oh, this is so important. While rule number 5 is freestyle, because everybody is going to do this in a way that fits their own, what they enjoy, how they like to take care of things. But tracking our income is possibly the most important thing you can do to make your spending plan work. And I would caution you, when you finish with this episode, please stay till the end. Don't just jump right into assigning jobs to your income. No, we got to start somewhere else. I want to challenge you to track your spending. Don't change anything, just the way you live right now. I want you to track your spending for the next month, a full month, 30 days. Even if you're starting in the middle of the month, that's fine. I want you to see where your money's going now. Write down everything. Your mortgage payment, if you make it online, if you write a check, if you go to the mortgage holder and peel out cash. I don't know how you pay it. I think most people these days either do it online or send a check. You write it down the day you do it. Don't do it ahead. Don't do it in anticipation. Actually, the day you do it. I want you to write down every single thing you spend. If you and your spouse, if you have one, manage money, spend money, however, you should both be keeping track. Or you can assign the job to one of you, but you're going to have to report. No secret spending. Can you do it for a month? Oh my goodness, it's going to be revolutionary. It's like keeping track of what you eat, which is something that most dietitians, doctors will tell you is a good thing to do. So that's what you do. You're going to track for a month. You're going to see where the money goes. You're going to be horrified. I promise you will. What you spend on food is going to absolutely blow your mind. And something else is going to happen. First of all, you're going to hate me for about the first 2 or 3 days because it is a true pain in the neck. You hate to do it. But I want you to just practice that discipline. Next thing that's going to happen, about 4, maybe day 5, you are going to be so astonished. And without me telling you one thing, without making any changes in the way you spend, I'm telling you, don't change the way you spend. Just do this. You won't be able to help yourself. Because the third time through McDonald's to get a Coke and fries is going to be so painful, and you're going to be so embarrassed to keep writing it down that you'll skip it. You'll figure, I'm just going to have a snack when I get home. Honestly, friends, you are going to just be blown away as the light bulbs come up and you see how you're spending your money. So at the end of 30 days, in fact, you can do this every day if you want. Send me a note. Tell me how you're struggling to track your income, but just keep doing it. Please, just try it out for 30 days. I will tell you, and then we're going to get on with this, but I'll tell you the very first thing that I did when I came out of that deep, dark, devastating fog of knowing that I was about to lose everything because I had gotten my family into such deep debt. We were unemployed. We had no money. We had no income. My husband and I both, neither one of us had a job. We didn't have any unemployment income because we had both been self-employed. I'm telling you, it was terrible. You know what the very, very first thing that I did when I came out of that fog? Oh my goodness. I made a decision that I would only spend cash and that I would only grocery shop 1 time a week. Isn't that terrible? I don't know where I was going to get this money to do that. Well, yes, I do. You'll find out when you read my story. But I can tell you that it's something we know that we should not be using credit, that we should keep track of what we are spending. And I know some of you are saying, well, I live with a debit card because that's safe. It's safe, and I'm spending straight out of my checking account. And I know what you're saying. And the reason that it is made of plastic is because the credit industry, the banking industry in our world knows. It's like funny money. It's not the real thing. You will spend 30% more if you're using a debit card than if you're using cash. So I don't know if that speaks to you. If you struggle, if you don't know how to budget, just do that. 2 things. Start writing down how you're spending your money. At the end of 30 days, commit to cash for your daily spending. You'll read so much more about how to do this in Chapter 8 of our book, 7 Money Rules for Life. There are some tips, there's some steps, some hints how to do this, how you can get started. And I promise you will come up with your own best way to do it yourself. And who knows, it just might be a stack of envelopes that you carry around with all of your money divvied up between them. Okay, so I know that I've raised a lot of questions in people's minds. What do you think? Any questions for you, Julie?
I'm excited for people to see your chart in the book that is the monthly spending plan. And I know probably people say, well, how do I even get started on that? There are a ton of them online that you can find that are visual, like with charts and colors, or just simple Excel type spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what works for you would probably make me want to poke my eyes out.
Right.
And what works for me would make you go, what?
Right.
So it's so individual. It really is.
Very much. The other thing I was thinking of is I love how you use the metaphor of the workers, the dollars are the workers, because if a person can visualize a plan for them individually, that is a huge help. Because I have some artist friends that I was telling you about who they say, I'm no good at math. I can't do a budget because I'm not good at math and I need to be creative. And if a person can think of their spending plan as maybe a spending design, or if they have a brain that thinks like in patterns rather than
that's good. That's
addition
good.
and subtraction column, then that's a helpful thing. Right. Some of my friends think in patterns or colors or quilt patterns, things like that. All your dollars become pieces that you need to put together in a frame, something like that.
Something that I've kind of noticed, not only in my own life, which is absolutely true, but in friends' lives over the years and my kids. And sometimes that we attract someone who has a different kind of personality and temperament to ourselves.
Right.
Take my husband Harold and I, for example, two more opposite people you could never imagine. I mean, just to look at us, are we opposite?
Yes.
He's 6'3", I'm 5'1".
Yeah.
Okay. He is very, very analytical. He's sequest. I think that's, he thinks in sequences. I think out of the, I'm that creative person. I'm just all over the map. Here's the deal. If we were trying to manage our money as a team, well, that ain't going to work ever. We know that. He is great at managing money. He is fabulous. He was a banker, for goodness sakes. He has a degree in economics, which makes me just break out into a rash.
Right.
So I just thank the Lord every single day that I have a husband who not only prefers to handle the money in our family, but is really, really good at it. And he gives me an allowance. Okay. I try to take care of my allowance, and I do. I've gotten really, really good at it. I would rather save it than spend it because he has provided such a wonderful life for us because of his skills. So I would recommend anyone listening, don't feel like you have to do these kinds of things because it's written down in a book. I would suggest whoever's good at handling money needs to do that in your family. If you have a spouse, if you're better at it, let him off the hook. Give him an allowance. You take care of the money. You take care of that. So we've all been given our individual abilities and so on. If both of you are total spendthrifts, which happens now and again, step up. Realize that you are in charge here. Those dollars work for you guys. You don't need to be working for them. Well, you do work for them to get them, I guess.
To get them, right.
But once they're in your possession, so what if you're both creative souls? That doesn't let you off the hook in parenting, okay? You're still responsible to raise decent human beings who have morals and values. So you got to think of it that way. But really, like you said, when I realized this whole thing that I'm the boss of the money that I have to manage, that puts a lot of responsibility on me. And as an employer, I don't know if you've had employees, haven't you, Julie?
Yep.
That's a whole nother level, being responsible for them and keeping them on task and making sure that they are producing.
Right.
And not letting them off the hook just because you don't have the guts to fire them. I mean, we got to think in those terms.
Right.
Yeah.
What works? What makes it work? So Mary, what if someone really doesn't like to have cash or carry cash around? They really like their debit card.
Right.
And they like that they can get your statement and it has everything itemized out that you've spent money on.
Over the years, I've had to become, shall I say, more tolerant because you have to understand, coming out of the life where I was and where we are now, having no debt whatsoever. We have paid off our mortgage. We have savings. We are, it's just been a wonderful transformation. In my head, I said, well, that's the only way. Everyone has to be exactly like me and do this. You've got to have a husband who does this. And now I know that's not true. And I really, really learned this from a past employee of mine named Max. What a delightful young man. He came to work for us straight out of college. Now, let me tell you, Max is completely opposite of me, and he and I have had long, long discussions. He learned so much about managing his money by working for Debt Proof Living. He worked for me. Now, he's completely opposite of me. If he has cash, he can't hang on to it. I mean,
yes,
it disappears. He has no idea where it went. It makes him nervous.
Right.
It causes him stress and anxiety, which I can't understand. But now I do understand that there are many different temperaments. For Max, the key to his success and his frugality, which he just cracks me up, how frugal he can be, but how well he has done. Debt-free, purchased a condo, put 50% down. He's a voracious saver.
Wow. Cannot
live with cash. His key is his debit card.
Yeah.
All right. So he has taught me the secrets for how he manages that. He's obsessed. Well, guess what? When I have cash, I'm obsessed too. I know exactly how much I have. And I tuck it away and I hide it for myself and I have all these little games. He does the same with his debit card. But what he does is he checks his online account probably 30 times a day.
Yeah.
Yep. What he'll do is, all right, he goes to Starbucks or whatever and uses his debit card. He'll look and check his account online on his phone until it registers. And he sees exactly that and then he sees his new balance and he knows at all times exactly what his balance is. And then he has these rules for himself. He doesn't let it get above a certain number. If it gets above a number, he transfers it into his savings account. He doesn't let it get too close to being no money there. He's crazy about it. But guess what? He has found a way to make his debit card work for him. Max is single, so I don't know how he will handle this. If he's married and they share an account, I'm sure he'll figure it out. And guess what? You sweet, wonderful listeners of mine, you will too. You will figure this out. Once you see the principle that you, the boss, have to tell your money where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You'll never wonder where it went.
That's right.
And as a bonus, you will know in an instant if there's something wrong with your account. Max has become masterful because you can't believe all the times that things are posted incorrectly.
Right.
He catches it. He doesn't wait for a month or some things get past him he never knew. So, you can turn the way that you handle money best into your greatest asset, even if it's that you can't keep track of where it's going. You'll figure it out.
Uh-huh. That's great. I love that. Tell your money where to go and you'll never, what was it?
And you'll never wonder where it went. Thanks for being with me today. I'll see you next time.
Debt Proof Living with Mary Hunt was created and hosted by Mary Hunt. Produced by Julie Emerson with Harold Hunt, executive producer. Save time, save money every day. Make it easy on yourself. Become part of the community and subscribe for free at everydaycheapskate.com. That's where you will find all the ways you can follow Mary, Everyday Cheapskate, and Debt Proof Living. Thank you for listening.